Well, it has been a good minute since I've done a From the Toy Bin video. I have a bunch of them planned. Well, there's a lot of prep work involved, and I've got to like dig stuff out of storage, and I also have to occasionally troll eBay for certain things, and lately I haven't had much luck with that. I've either not found things that I'm looking for, or I keep getting outbid. And if you're one of those people that have been outbidding me, I will find you. Anyway, today we're going to talk about Centurions. These were toys, and of course they were cartoon from the 80s. They were a group of guys who were specialized forces who fought against this one specific villain, and I forget exactly what the premise was, but basically all you need to know is they have these power suits, and they fight this one cyborg guy, and we're going to look at him in a minute. So this is Max Ray, Jake Rockwell, and Ace McCloud, or as I like to call them, Tom Selleck, Bruce Willis, and Tom Cruise. What, you don't see it? Yeah, whatever. Anyway, these guys were an interesting toy line. We will look at their accessories in a minute because they came with a whole bunch of accessories. But right now, what I want to do is just take a moment and appreciate the quality of these figures, because look at the details on this guy. Look at all the little wrinkles and everything, all the pouches he's got right there. Look at the pouches on there. He's got all these tech bits all over him. And look at the sculpt on the head. Look how detailed that is. That is surprising detail for an 80s toy. And not only that, but the figures are huge. I mean, look at these guys. And you know what? They've aged pretty well too. They don't feel sticky like a lot of figures tend to get when they get older. The joints are still really good. A little messed up hair there, but you'll see why in a minute. The only one that I do have some issue with is Max here, because the neck joint is very loose. I'm hoping maybe to find a replacement for him at some point. Also, articulation on these guys. I mean, you get some standard stuff like knee, but like the legs can do that. The arms can do that as well. The head, you got an up and down joint, and you got a side to side joint, which is really cool. You don't often see that. Also, very, very high quality plastic. This is what you would call a very high quality toy line. You could take these guys outside, you could toss them around, you could throw them around, and they won't break. Maybe. Don't toss them around outside. Take good care of your things, because you never know when in 30 years or so, when you're selling those on eBay, if someone would really, really want them. Anyway, for those of you not familiar with these guys, you've probably noticed all the little holes they have all over their body. They got them on their arms, got them on their legs, on their chest, and on their back, and they even got some on their shoulders, which I don't remember coming in handy very often. But okay, so the deal with these guys was they had these power suits that they're wearing, and they give them, like, I guess, enhanced strength and enhanced agility and all that. And of course, they have these holes in them. The holes were for their accessories. So the way that excuse me, Max, your head is causing you to fall. The way these guys worked was they would call the satellite station, not a space station, on their wrist communicators, and they would say, "Send me whatever, my weapons," and they would beam their weapons down from space onto their bodies, and they would hold up their arms like this, which I guess is why they have a little bit of ball joint in their shoulders there, and go, "Power Extreme!" And then they would have this whole, like, anime style transformation technique where the items would come down from space and they would appear around them, and then one by one they would, like, attach themselves to the holes. and they would have all kinds of crazy things, and we're going to look at them in a second. I have a bunch of them, and in order for me to properly do this, I will have to do some jump cuts in this video. So, yeah, I will be right back, because I'm going to go ahead and assemble these guys with the accessories that they came with. So, I will be right back. And here they are, ready to fight evil in their probably not at all practical weaponry, their gear or whatever. So, yeah, these are the weapon sets that came packaged with the figures. Max's one is called Cruiser, Jake had Fire Force, and Ace had Sky Knight. And as you can tell, each one of them was a specialist in water, land, and air. So they had all their bases covered. Incidentally, there were also 2 other Centurions introduced in the show much later on in the show's lifetime. That were never turned into figures. They had prototypes. I actually just recently found out that the prototypes were made, and some people do have them. They're very, very hard to find. But they were Rex Charger, who was the energy specialist, and then John Thunder, which is probably the best name of them all. And he was the stealth expert or something like that. I don't know. As far as I know, only the figures were made, and they never got their accessories. But unfortunately, I'm not fortunate enough to have one of the prototypes. So we're just going to talk about these guys. So you got Max here, whose again neck is kind of messed up. I wonder if there's a way for me to get in there and tighten that, but I don't know. So here he is in his marine assault gear, I guess. So he's got his I guess those are oxygen tanks, and maybe they're boosters as well. He also has boosters on his legs. He's got a missile on the back here. Unfortunately, the little holder for the missile, something's up with the inside of it, so the missile don't go in there quite good. Then there's his oh no, his fin fell off. Then there's his laser cannon on his arm, and then he has a fin that goes on his chest, which I guess is for stability or something. Seems very large. I don't remember it being this large in the show. And I guess that's also a laser, maybe? Now, one interesting thing about the suits, or the figures, is that if you notice here the middle hole, it can turn. And that's on purpose, because what would happen is you'd turn this, and it would actually go through all the way to something on their back. Like the missile here would shoot off if you turned the hole, which, to be honest, was kind of an annoying feature, because it would often go off on its own. Please don't fall, Jake. Oh boy. And as you can tell, there's some balance issues with these guys. I'm really trying to... Oh, there goes his... Yeah, also the accessories don't always fit properly. But yeah, let's take a look at Jake's here, since I have him out. Yeah, that's a Gatling gun he has on his chest, and I do like that noise it makes. And he also has this giant FU bazooka, which was supposed to go on the back just like that, but unfortunately it's not very secure. I'm not sure why. Oh boy, these guys are just falling. It's been a good while since I've tried to assemble these. Hold on, let me put this back in. I'll talk about what that is in a second. Now, what is cool about the missile launcher, and I haven't put the missile all the way in because it does have kind of a hair trigger, and I don't want to lose the missile, because as soon as you shoot the missile off, it's going to get lost. What is cool is that he had an extra hole right there where you can like mount the missile launcher like that, and he can hold it so he can just kind of aim it properly instead of just having it on his back. He also has a gun on his wrist, and he's got this thing, which I guess is supposed to be like a radar thing, but unfortunately it just kind of it's kind of like stuck on there. It doesn't spin or anything because of his... Well, even without the helmet, it still wouldn't move much. But yeah, the helmet adds more mass to the figure. Some of the designs didn't quite work out well. Although speaking of the helmets, I do want to point out one thing: how distinct the helmets are. They're all different. They could have very easily just molded one helmet and gave it to them. In fact, even the suits are very distinct. They didn't cut corners with these guys. They went and they molded 3 very distinct figures, which is really cool. And now let's look at Ace here with his jetpack with this gun right here, which I don't think that was a laser. I think that was some kind of tracking thing, but I'm not really sure. He's got missiles on his hands like this. I'm sure that's safe. He's got the big old missile right here. Luckily, he doesn't have anything that can spring off. So I guess he's the more well-designed one. And he's got 2 lasers right there, so he'd be flying around shooting. I did notice that even though they all had different accessories, and we will look at some of them in a moment, Ace always seemed to use this one. Because he had other ones, and one was kind of a specialized thing, but he had another one that he could have used more for, more firepower, but for some reason he liked that one. I've seen these guys use their other ones all the time. But yeah, those are the basic sets you get. So now that we've met the Centurions, let's take a look at the bad guys. And here they are, the bad guys of the series. This is Doc Terror, and this is his henchman Hacker. So let's take a look at Doc Terror here for a second. Now again, very well made figure. Look at the detail on his face. That is very impressive. I'd imagine these figures were very expensive back in the day. I would wager to guess that buying figures like this on eBay right now wouldn't be too much different than buying them back in the day, because there was a lot of accessories and they came in big boxes, and they're big chunky figures like this. Not cheap. So yeah, Doc Terror, he was a scientist who I believe was he had horrible ideas, and he was laughed off, and he was like, I will take over the world with robots. And so he did, and then the Centurions have to fight him. What is cool about him is his backstory, because, well, actually, let me talk about Hacker for a second, because they are basically the same character, just kind of flipped. So here's Hacker. Now, Hacker was a criminal that I think Doc Terror employed to, do experiments on, and that's why he became a cyborg. And he's got this blade and this mace, and he just kind of swings it around. I think if I turn it, oh yeah, there we go. You gotta turn it, and then it goes around like that, and you can bash things with it. Pretty cool. And there's his face. Oh my gosh, that is unfortunate. He didn't look that dumb in the series. He was actually a very threatening villain, if I remember correctly. Now, the story with this is, their backstory is very cool, because Hacker got turned into a cyborg by Doc Terror, because, he's a criminal, and he employed him, and he was like, we're gonna go mess some stuff up, or something like that. So, he got turned into a cyborg, and then, he was like, I don't like what you did to me, I want to turn back, and he's like, I can't turn you back, and then he gets mad, and he threw things, and then he smashed Doc Terror with this giant crate, and Doc Terror told him, put me in the cyborg machine, or whatever, and then he became this. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, he wasn't intending to become like this, but he got injured and had no choice. So that's kind of an interesting twist on this. Unfortunately, Doc Terror, don't have his helmet, which is fine, I guess, because I don't remember him using it a whole lot in the show. He just kind of stood there with his scowl, which he always had. I always loved his voice too, because he had this very booming voice. He was like, I will stop those Centurions, and they'd have kind of like a reverb in it, or maybe like they made it sound a little robotic and everything. It was really cool. He also had accessories that went in here, although I've seen him use his hand like this before. It's just a laser. He also had a claw hand, which unfortunately I don't have, and he had a missile that he shot out of there as well, but again, I don't have it. Now, one of the hilarious things about these guys is the sides of their bodies right here. These things right here, that's actually an AI, which I guess help pilot their the cybernetic half of their body or something. I'm not really sure. But there was an episode, well, first let me show you that these guys can actually come off like this. And the reason for that was because they had a couple of robot drones. They had land ones, and they had air attack ones, strifers I believe they're called. And they can actually combine with one of the strifers so they can fly around. But there was one episode where they both, got detached from their bodies. They merged with the strifer, and the two halves merged together, and it tried to take over, everything. Unfortunately, you can't really do that with this because the feet are too big and they don't quite work. I guess maybe if I stand it like that, yeah, I guess that works. But yeah, that was a very interesting episode. Their two halves merged together and decided that they wanted to take over the world by themselves. It's unfortunate because you can't. I would love to maybe put them together like this, but unfortunately you can't do that with it. Oh, I never noticed the sticker in there. It's very nice. But yeah, that's Doc Terror and that's Hacker. One thing to note about Doc Terror too is that's his real name. Like, that's not like a supervillain name that he came up with. His name was Doc Terror. And were the scientists of the world really surprised when he turned out to be evil? The guy with the permanent scowl named Doc Terror tried to take over the world. Was anyone surprised? Oh well. Anyway, those are the bad guys. Now let's go back to the Centurions here and take a look at some of the accessories they had, some of the other weapon sets. So I will be right back once again. Welcome back, Ace. Yes, so this is one of Ace's other weapon systems. Unfortunately, it's the only one of his that I have. He's got another one called Skybolt, which is like a giant jet that just attaches to his back. This one in particular is called Orbital Interceptor, and this is for when he specifically has to go into space. So you got the helmet right there, the space helmet. You got laser cannon right there. You got things on the back, and there's a missile here too, which shoots off. I think if I twist the thing, it'll shoot. Also, the twisty thing kind of moves around the satellite dish, which is kind of cool. Got thrusters, and he's got these right here, which I don't remember what those are. I think they're lasers. I think they like spin and they shoot lasers at things. And you know what? I will give this show a lot of credit, or even this toy line a lot of credit. Very creative. They had a lot of interesting ideas. I think that's one of the things that makes it so great, is that it is just really insane, and it knows how insane it is, and it just has fun with it. So yeah, I like the helmet on this. It's kind of cool. It doesn't look like any of the other helmets, and see, there he is. One of the few times I've seen the shoulder things actually come into play. Although they don't really do much. They just kind of, form an airtight seal, I guess. Aside from that useless little radar thing that Jake had on his standard set. I think I am missing a piece off of this. I think there was supposed to be like one other little laser thing that he had maybe on his wrist or something. But yeah, that's his that's his space outfit. Every bit as ridiculous as you'd expect it to be. So yeah. Now the interesting thing about the Centurions is that Max and Ace each had two other sets. There were other ones introduced in the show, but I don't believe they were ever produced. They were done much later on, and I guess the show kind of went off the air, and nobody was buying the toys anymore, so they didn't make them. But Jake had the most accessories out of all of them, and I actually have two other sets. So I'll be right back, and we'll show off the first one. Oh my god, what the hell is that thing? This is one of Jake's accessory sets. This is Hornet. It is supposed to be a helicopter, but unfortunately, I don't have the blades anywhere. I could have sworn I had them. And I looked through all the drawers and everything, but I could not find the things. But yeah, interesting that he is the land expert, and yet they gave him a flying set. That is one thing I kind of forgot to mention about the sets is you can mix and match them. You can take you can take something and just pop it on there, or pop it somewhere where here on his hand. There we go. Boom. Now he has another missile to go with the other 4 missiles he has. Yeah, you can mix and match them, and they even did that in the show quite a bit. Like when they have to be underwater, and Max was the only underwater guy, so the other 2 needed a way to get underwater, and Ace could have used Skybolt for that. Not Skybolt, Orbital Interceptor for that, because it's a space thing and he can go underwater with it. I distinctly remember Jake having to use one of Max's sets underwater, and he didn't know how to use it properly, so he was having trouble with it, and that did cause a lot of humor in the show. But anyway, so yeah, this is supposed to be like a self-contained helicopter. You got missile, got missile, another missile, missiles everywhere, and he had 2 guns right there, and he had like a little helicopter cockpit right for his head that he can't really see out of. I think it looked better on the show, but yeah, and it had a drill on the back for some reason. And here's the thing that would, set off the propellers, the helicopter blades. I swear, I knew I had those somewhere, but I can't remember where. Also, he is very big and bulky, so I have to hold him so he doesn't fall. I have been searching on eBay for them, and I cannot find them. Hopefully they'll turn up one of these days. But yeah, that was one he had. He had another one called Detonator, which was this giant, like really heavy duty, like firepower thing. It had missiles, it had heavy armor and everything. But one of the other accessories that he has, I also have, is one of my favorites. So I'm gonna go get that right now. Oh man, I love it. So this is Wild Weasel. It's one of my favorite accessories in the entire set. It's basically a Mad Max style self-contained motorcycle armored vehicle with weapons everywhere. Look at that. He's got a big old gun up here. He's got these things here. Oh man, it's so funny. So yeah, he's got, and what's cool is the little crank thing inside of it can move the gun around, so you can be, it probably doesn't work so well right here, but yeah, as you can see there, it does work. So yeah, he'd be cruising around in this thing. They use this in like, big open areas like deserts or whatever. But yeah, what I really like about this one is that it actually has 2 forms. So you take this off, you put that there, and then you can actually open the hatch here, and you're supposed to be able to put this here, but unfortunately I am missing a piece. But yeah, that is kind of cool. It looks like it's like a rascal or a Segway or something with weapons. You put the things down like that. Yeah, so, oh man, this is such a cool thing. That's what I love about this. It's ridiculous, but it's so much fun. So yeah, that was Centurions. Unfortunately, I don't have any of Max's accessories. He had 2. He had one called Tidal Blast, which was a really just like a bigger version of this. It had giant, jets on the back that got him. He had giant missiles. It's all about lasers and missiles with these guys. And the other one he had that I really liked was it was probably second to Wild Weasel here. It was what was it called? Depth Charger, I think. It was just this submarine that he would just he would just sit in. And what was really funny about that one is that it had one of those like spiky water mines, the kind you'd see in a movie, like Hot Fuzz, like the one the guy had in Hot Fuzz, and it was just hanging off the back, and he would just release it and blow things up. But yeah, great toy set. You know, for all the making fun of it and everything. Really high quality toys. A pain in the ass to collect because obviously they come with so many accessories that it's a nightmare. Unless you could find one, complete on eBay, I would not bother, because odds are if you need like one little piece from these guys, it's gonna set you back at least $10. I was fortunate enough to find some of the sets complete online. I think I'm still missing a few little things. Like I'm missing that piece. I'm missing the gun for Orbital Interceptor, and the blades for Hornet, and all of Doc Terror's accessories. But again, really cool set. One little piece doesn't really ruin the whole aesthetic, so that is pretty cool. Good luck if you are trying to collect these, because like I said, they're a pain. But yeah, I really like them. I think they're great toys. So yep, that's all I got for Centurions. I got to go back into storage and find some other stuff to talk about. So I'll see you later.